Thanks again for your patience. Welcome to this Ottawa County event hosted by Vote Common Good West Michigan. Help, thanks, while flipping the script in Ottawa County. My name is Nick Brock. I'm the Executive Director for Vote Common Good West Michigan, which is a Facebook page. But we are in partnership today with the Smart Science Alliance, the Ottawa Integrity PAC, the Ottawa County Democratic Party, and then St. John's Episcopal Church. All of these groups, all of these people have helped to make this event a reality. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for this great turnout. All right, so this event was created to invite the community into a counter space and a counter narrative to the hard-charging rhetoric of us versus them with regard to school mask mandates at public meetings. The political and religious rhetoric found within these meetings has consistently compelled adherence towards impassioned acts of harassment, intimidation, accusations of child abuse, threats, personal slander, and criminal intent. The organized chaos of these meetings have fomented a groundswell of fear and loathing, and at its apex has produced comments such as, quote, "I represent a lot of guys who couldn't be here today, and there's hell coming." There's hell coming, and I'm not doing it to threaten anybody, but there's a lot of good guys out there ready to do bad things. Watch what's coming. End quote. That man then directs his attention to a Commissioner, Doug Zouster, who's here today, and asks, "Are you a Nazi? What is it? I have nothing to say. Do what's right, or there's a lot of bad things coming." End quote. And so these meetings continue to sprinkle their varied levels of violence here and there within our community. And much of this behavior is allowed under a tacit permission for religious righteousness. One woman encapsulated the nature of the effort when she stated, and I quote, "The patriots in this room are growing God's army, and we will not be quiet. We will fight this medical tyranny, and civil disobedience is a must." End quote. And you know what? I believe her. Because a narrative that reinforces the definitive authority of us always needs a them to push against. And the difficulty in all of this, however, is that us versus them flows both ways along the political and religious spectrum. We are all susceptible to it, and it's the hope, prayer, and work of Vote Common Good West Michigan to do better. So friends, we trust that there's a more compelling story to live out because of our current social and political climate that work begins with help, thanks, and wow today, to weave a deeper narrative at the intersection of faith and politics to inspire change for the common good. So to that end, I invite you, the residents of Ottawa County, to flip the script, to enter into a more compelling way to be in the public forum. In this manner, though, to be just as raucous and just as impassioned and just as chaotically organized, but the inverse of what we have been witnessing writ large at these public meetings. So I'm excited for you to participate with us this evening. You're going to hear from local political leaders, faith leaders, the author of a book called Radical Compassion, community activists. We're going to inspire you, stretch you, and most importantly, recruit you, because we need you to do the good work that you know needs to be done. So we're going to begin by telling a parable. friend here, Victor Vector, has written a parable about finding the truth, discerning what is old and what is new, and then walking into what is good for us now. So I want to invite my friend Victor to the microphone.
Thank you, Nick. So the former pastor of my former church used to say when he got up on stage that he was not looking to end the conversation, but to start it. So I don't tend to have a lot of answers. I just want to tell a little story, and hopefully it will perhaps start some conversation. For a long time, I wanted to stay in the center of the village, where the truth lived. I liked hearing from people who were in the center. I felt safe, comfortable, and right. At some point, I heard whispers of what it was like at the edge of the village. The people there were called names like heretic and unorthodox, and I didn't want that to be said of me, so I stayed in the center. But one brave day, I decided to risk it, venture out towards the edge of the village near the perilous forest of the unknown or the untruth. I still felt at home in the center of the village, but something in me needed to go forth, to risk venturing out. I hung out at the edges for a while, which was scary at first, and then intriguing. Eventually, it was life-giving. I still appreciated the proclamations of truth coming from the center, but slowly they started sounding a wrong ring. They rang my inner bell wrong. Now, it took a long time to realize, but eventually it became clear that I was growing and expanding out beyond the borders of belief in my village's rightness. It would be fair to say that I began filling my old wineskin with new wine, and the new was busting through. It wouldn't fit. So now I had a choice. Dump the new wine and preserve my old wineskin. Keep drinking the same drink, the true drink, the right one. Or find a new wineskin that's robust enough to hold the new wine. I came back to the village and consulted with the village elders who lived there. They cautioned against this new thing because the old wine is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we can trust in the tried and true. See, they said, it says right here in the book. Now, I like to be in the truth, and I like the book, and I like to be right. I like to be safe. But something, inside or outside, kept calling me. Even if the new thing is wrong, I decided I had to risk it. I had to try it. So out to the edge of the village and into the perilous forest I went, and I got a taste of the new, and it did something to me. It was dangerous, and it will continue to be ill-advised to ditch the old for the new, but I simply can't stop. I have to keep going. Now, I haven't found a container yet to store the new wine, but that seems to be the case out here in the wilderness. The wine flows from random and unexpected places, and there doesn't seem to be a place yet to store it. Now, as far as I can tell, that seems to be par for the course out here. It's like bread that arrives every morning, and if you collect it and try to hoard it for the next week or even tomorrow, it rots. There's only enough for today. At least that's what one of the village elders told me many years ago. I wonder if he and the others are aware that a new wine is flowing out here in the wilderness, away from the village center, and the old container can't hold it anymore. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Nagy. I had the unfortunate experience of following Nick Brock at a speaking event. Now I have the unfortunate experience of following Victor. It was really brilliant and gave us so much to think about. I was having lunch with my really dear friend Karen Ames yesterday, and we talked about issues with masking in schools and all this all the time. Karen's a retired music teacher. I'm a music teacher. And we were talking about the verbal attacks on county commissioners, hateful calls made to the county commission, to the county health department, and resignations of good people like John Simeon from the school board here in Grand Haven. Karen said to me, I just don't understand it. Others matter. Others matter. Lisa Stefanowski and the leaders of our health department have saved lives. They matter. Our school boards have navigated a global pandemic, lost of instructional time, virtual learning, and feeding our kids. They matter. Our county commissioners took the heat for shutdowns and mask mandates. They matter. Our families, many of whom have lost family members, matter. And our kids, especially those that are not yet able to get a vaccine, matter. As a teacher, I've relied on the information from the health department that's been provided throughout the pandemic. I deeply appreciate Commissioner Bergman's response to the horrendous scene at the county commission meeting about a month ago, where commissioners were threatened and constituents were shouted down. Our commissioners are standing up to a mob, an organized mob with no moral compass. Unfortunately, we see a political landscape where only certain people matter. We've allowed ourselves to be divided to the point where we refuse to even engage with each other. Engaging with people with whom we absolutely disagree is hard. I read an article a while ago. The author stated that Democrats had better figure out why working class white voters are flocking to Trump. Why is this demographic so incredibly aggrieved when as a group they are most adversely affected by Republican policies that enhance income inequality, fail to provide health care, and ignore the climate crisis? Why do so many of our neighbors, folks we've known for years, feel that it's okay to threaten county professionals and elected representatives? My initial reaction to that article was, oh, heck no. I don't give a fig for an ignoramus who refuses to get a vaccine or wear a mask. And then I had to give myself a talking to. When I write people off as idiots, I'm not living the value others matter. As a follower of Jesus, I'm called to love my neighbor, especially the ones I don't much like. However, I know absolutely that my Lord would expect me to stand up for the people trying to keep us alive, to thank them from the bottom of my heart, and to be public about it. This is the beginning of a long process, reclaiming integrity in our county. Over 5 years of leadership in Ottawa Dems, I've witnessed a surge of caring, engaged, grateful people like all of you here today. This is the beginning of a very long process. And as we begin this journey together, let's hold to the simple standard, others matter. Thank you.
I'm Reverend Bert Swearinga, and I'm a pastor in the Christian Reformed Church of North America. And in 2020, I left and separated from my church over a mask debate. In 2019, my wife had a long bout with pneumonia. And when she went to her doctor, she found out that she had scarring in her lungs. And when COVID came along, she went to her doctor and asked, what do I have to do? And he said, be careful, because your immune system is compromised. And when COVID came, I went to my elders and I said, I think we really have to err on the side of caution. And I found out in the subsequent weeks and months that they did not agree with my assessment. They wanted to err on the side of faith. And then I began to see some of these signs that pop up in the lawns, faith over fear. And I quickly deduced what they were saying is that we have to have faith in God in the midst of this pandemic and trust that He's not going to allow this pandemic to come to our congregation. But if He would allow that to happen, then, and even if someone were to go home because of COVID, then that's His will. Then we can be good with that. And so we taught, me and my elders, and we came to a place where we had to make a very, very hard decision. And it was made out of a whole bunch of bad choices that we had. But we chose the one one that we believed was the best, and that was to separate. And so I said to them, and I'll never forget the meeting that we had, the night that we decided that that was the way forward, and we prayed together. And we cried together. And I said to them, let's make this separation as amicable as we possibly can. The reason being this: that when Jesus came into this world, he said, I have come to usher in the kingdom of God. And in the midst of our disagreement about Mass, we wanted to portray, if we could, the kingdom of God. And I think we did a pretty good job. But what grieves me so much today is what we heard from Nick about what we're hearing from Christians that are making some pretty bold proclamations about even hurting and threatening our leaders and our school board members. And I know some of them go to church every Sunday. And they're taught to usher in the kingdom of God. And I've done a lot of thinking about that over the past year and a half. And I think about how you have rights that you ought to fight for. Regardless of if you're on one side or the other, as we've heard, you can agree to disagree on things, but how can you have a civil conversation about your differences? And then I thought how they had the right to fight for their rights. The Declaration of Independence talks about those rights very clearly. That we hold these truths to be self-evident. That we have rights that come from our Creator. And those rights include things like life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. That as a Christian, how do you fight for your rights? And so I thought, well, how did Jesus fight for his right to life? He didn't. He laid down his life for the Father he loved and his brothers and sisters he loved. And I thought, well, then how did Jesus fight for his liberty, his freedom? I thought he didn't fight. He stands before Pontius Pilate, the civil judge. He's a perfectly innocent man, and he doesn't open his mouth. In fulfillment to what Isaiah prophesied, as a sheep before the shearers remain silent, so he will not open his mouth. No, he remained silent out of his love for his Father and his love for his fellow brothers and sisters. Then I asked, well, how did Jesus fight for his right to pursue happiness? Again, he didn't. He went to the cross scorning its shame out of his love for his brothers and his sisters and his love for his Father. And then Jesus said something while he walked on this earth. He said, if you want to be my disciple, then you have to deny yourself. Take up your cross, not your spear, and follow me. And so I implore people on both sides of the debate that we usher in the kingdom of God with peaceable, loving, caring conversations with the other. Because, well, that's what Jesus It's a high calling. But I truly believe that we can change the script when we follow him.
Thank you so much to every single person who is here today. You may not be able to read it, but my shirt says, "You can do hard things."
Oh.
And I feel like, as a human, as a mom, as a citizen, as a sister, this whole past almost 2 years now has really stretched me feeling capable of doing hard things. And I'm sure a lot of you in this room are feeling the same way. And going all the way back to what Nick said as far as changing the narrative, I really want to encourage you with some facts, statistics, information, not about masks, not about the health department, because I'm sure you all are knowledgeable in those areas, but kind of going back to my wheelhouse, which is marketing. So I do marketing for a living, and I always tell marketing students when I go to speak at colleges or other places, if you want to do yourself a favor, learn everything you can about behavioral science. Because at the end of the day, marketing, all it is trying to get somebody to do something. And right now, we're trying to get ourselves to do things. We're trying to get ourselves to take leadership. We're trying to get ourselves to keep going and doing all the things when we have all the pressure of COVID on top of all the pressure of just life and climate change and disagreements with our friends and family members. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room who's had very difficult conversations with people that are very close to me and that I love that I never thought I would have if you would have told me 2 years ago that I'd be having this conversation. But just like, to build on what Kim said, just like we're dealing with caring about others, we have to care for ourselves too. And that means being aware of our own biases, and this may be in some unexpected ways. So there are things like the availability heuristic. We may feel like there's no point in us wearing that, or there's no point in speaking up, because I'm the only one, so nobody's going to really listen to me. That may be the availability heuristic at play. I was at that county commission meeting as one of only a very small handful of people speaking up for masks, and let me tell you, it definitely felt like that day that everybody other than me was anti-mask. Because there were over 1,000 people there, and I could count on one hand the number of people I knew and recognized who were on the same page as us. But we know from statistics that that's not the reality. The majority of people agree with masks, so what's the problem? I can tell you went to Costco today, the majority of people were not wearing masks. So what's the problem? Part of it is because we let that wear us down little by little and say, I'm going to be the weird one if I'm wearing a mask. I'm going to be the weird one if I stand up at the public school board meeting. I'm going to be the weird one if I'm that mom who says to another mom friend, hey, just checking in. Are your kids vaccinated? If not, that's okay, but we need to make a safety plan. Right? There are ways that we can handle these conversations that don't place blame or put anger or frustration, as legitimate and justified as that may be, but allows us to find a way forward together. I'm the leader of Navigators USA Scouting Troop, and we had many, many intense conversations about how do we get together in person again with little kids who can't be vaccinated. And we determined that the best thing for us to do is to keep masks on all the time, even though we're outside. Because let's be real, 2-year-olds do not understand social distance. Okay? And I may be biased, but my daughter's really cute, and it's just hard not to squeeze her and snuggle her. So all these hard conversations are happening, but you have the capacity to be a leader. Every single time you wear a mask. Every single time you respond with kindness. Every single time you show up. You are putting that availability in somebody's mind of saying, I remember when this person stood up. I remember when this person wore a mask. And maybe they'll be more comfortable doing it the next time. You are all leaders. Even when you're going to the store. Even when you're writing a thank you note to the health department. Don't let anybody convince you that it doesn't matter, or that it's not noticed, Because when we're together is when we can really accomplish the most good. There's a scene in Finding Nemo, of all things. Again, I have a toddler, so we've been watching lots of Disney movies over COVID. And if you're familiar with the movie, there's a scene at the end of the movie where this fishing net is capturing all the fish. I'm going to drag them out, presumably to get eaten. And one fish says, "Swim down." And they all collectively swim down and break free from the net. We as individuals can accomplish this much, but when we come together with others who share our focus, our values, our commitment to kindness, our commitment to science-backed solutions, our commitment to solutions, period, right? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people who really would rather there not be a solution, because then we have something to fight about. I believe in solutions. I believe in working together. I believe in the community coming together, and we all have the capacity to come together and swim down. So thank you so much for having me today, and I hope you all join me in leading this community.
Hello, friends. I'd like to thank Nick Brock and Vote Common Good West Michigan, the Smart Science Alliance, Integrity PAC, and all who worked together to make this event possible. I'm honored to be speaking among such respected members of the Ottawa County community. My name is Becky Steele, and I am an elected trustee in Georgetown Township. More important to me than that title, though, is that I'm a mom of three. I am the granddaughter of a family physician. I am the daughter and sister of scientists. I am a bleeding disorders advocate. I am a college graduate with degrees in math, health, and special education, and I am a public school teacher. As a township trustee, I am one voice out of seven, tasked with the health, safety, and welfare of the 54,000 people who call Georgetown Township home. During my first term, which ran concurrent with the term of our nation's 45th president, I feel like my 6 board colleagues and I got a large amount of great work done for our community. We built a huge, beautiful new library, filled it and staffed it with the very best. We increased pedestrian pathways. We made improvements to our gateway properties. We increased connectivity to sanitary sewer because we know that that improves the water quality in our parks. And we continue to make capital investments in our parks. When election season came around in the summer and fall of 2020, though, the members of our board, myself included, and others who I respected tremendously, faced strong opposition from a slate of candidates who sit frighteningly far to the political right. This slate campaigned hard to flip the board. While much of our community was still shut down with concerns over COVID-19, they knocked on doors, thousands of doors. They invested thousands of dollars in yard signs and used facts taken out of context to spin narratives about the incumbent board members, all of which sought to further politically divide our community. And sadly, they were successful. Most members of the team I now work with have publicly pledged their allegiance to Ottawa Impact, a pact whose original, like the day their website went live, about statement on their website read, "We engage in local politics to preserve and protect our constitutional freedoms and the values dear to our community, including defending innocent life, the nuclear family, our nation's Judeo-Christian heritage. We oppose the movement towards socialism through progressive indoctrination of our country and America's youth." Now, their website, Ottawa Impact's website, has been revised to read a little bit less Judeo-Christian heritage and a little bit more individual rights of the people. But I'm confident that the end goal has not changed. At our recent meeting, my colleagues signed resolutions publicly opposing and condemning the Ottawa County Health Department's mask mandate for elementary school children and the federal government's steps towards vaccine mandates, neither of which are in any way under our jurisdiction. Their resolutions amount to nothing more than political grandstanding. These board members, the neighbors and colleagues with whom I share a political party, have far-right views. They are committed to their conservative talking points, and they are certain that they represent the views of the majority of our community. I simply cannot bring myself to believe that that is true. I believe that one way we can begin to flip the narrative in our boardrooms and our social media circles and over coffee with friends is to acknowledge that there is a group within our community that far outnumbers the far right. It includes moderate Republicans like me who are exhausted by the loudest voices within their party. It includes moderate Democrats and all who find themselves somewhere around the political middle. And it includes the most passionate and progressive members of the Democratic Party. This large group views are diverse on national topics like gun control, abortion, health care, the engagement of our military in foreign countries, and the structure of tax policy in our economy. But we must agree to disagree, because this same large group's views on local issues and issues of common good and moral character are much more similar. We believe that politics has no place in public health. We acknowledge racism and believe that fixing the problems begins within our own hearts and heads and homes. We believe in love and self-identity and will not pass judgment on how others live their lives. We believe that diversity makes us stronger. We believe in science and trust those who are researching climate crises, diseases, pandemics, and medical treatment. We believe in public education and that strong schools build a strong community, and we know that public school teachers and administrators need our support. We need to foster conversations like this one today within this large and diverse group. We need to identify candidates for local office within this group's ranks and do everything we can to get them elected. We need to find talking points on which we can all agree and speak them with the same passion and organization that we hear from the other side, and perhaps some actual data too. We must work together and lead with love and integrity. Thank you, Ottawa County Health Department, for all you do to keep us safe. And thank you so much, friends, for engaging in this dialogue.
Hey friends, have you gotten a sense of what's going on in the community?
Yeah.
I hope so. And we're not even halfway through. Well, actually, we are halfway through. But that's why I'm up here. I just want to let you know that if you haven't signed this already, it's a huge, giant, oversized pink thank you card that will go to the Ottawa County Department of Health. So we have Sharpies in the back, and I want you to write a thank you note with a personalized note as well. Because this will be delivered to the health department this coming week. So there's also the petition to condemn nonviolence in the back, but Kathleen Lucas is going to speak about that. But I just want to take a moment to let you know that you are here not only to hear these speakers, but you are here because you are being recruited. We need you to get involved. We need you to do some things and participate in the community. So, just like yesterday, we were in Grand Rapids encouraging people to do the exact same thing. So, we're going to hear from a few more speakers, and then I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to recruit you some more and ask you to participate. So, I'm going to bring up my friend, Thad Cummings.
into the health department, right, as some of the rhetoric that's gone on, I can totally acknowledge that it's not an easy position to be in that really has no clear victory for anyone's side. And so it's a hard job that they do trying to make decisions for what's for the best of us with what information they have. And you just always want to take time to acknowledge that. And I am a nurse in the local hospitals here, and I have gotten a lot of acknowledgments over the past couple of years, which is great, and I appreciate that. But there are so many people behind the scenes, the people who cook the food and clean the rooms, and who even do the scheduling, the administrative staff, even the doctors that I sit with who don't get hardly any recognition at all. And I always want to take time to acknowledge the thousands of people that go behind that makes my job possible. And so my name is Thad Cummings. I am the author of Radical Compassion, and my goal here today is not to pretend that I have my poop in the group and I've got compassion figured out just because I have a book written about it. I really just want to take these brief few minutes that I have to lament my own struggles, just when it comes to this past year and even having compassion. And so the only things you really need to know about me, I come from a broken home. I have a broken story. I myself have passed much pain and brokenness on in this world, and in many ways I still do. And it's needless to say, I'm no stranger to despair. And yet I've been so grateful at these past 5 years after I got sick to go on this journey of healing and try to rediscover what this future can look like for me, and having that peace of mind and all this wisdom that people have shared with me along the ways. And so while there's so many things I would love to talk about tonight and share with you, even just on this specific topic, though, the one thing that I just want to touch on is this concept that hurt people hurt people. And in this chaos of the world, I want to make it clear, I do not see bad people, whatever that might mean, or however you might categorize that for you in your life. I just simply see hurting people. So my transition to my new career in medicine has actually been natural for me, because I'm very lucky. I get to spend my days, whether that's on a medical search report or even working in the emergency department, all the way up to the COVID ICU. I sit with people and their families and their friends and their loved ones in some of their worst moments of despair and tragedy in their life. And I hope, I really do, that in some small way I get to be a part of that journey, to pass along some peace and some idea of a better life that all these people have shared with me in my own journey of healing. And so you can't say it enough. We live in a chaotic world, right? There's so much angst and anxiety and bitterness and fear and anger towards anything we don't understand, towards anything that's different. And our pain and brokenness can just come out the worst of ways towards anyone who might look or act or think differently than us. And I will be honest, this is where I want to have my own confession. I've had days of working 14, 15, 16, 17-hour days in the hospital. And it's hard. And you're in a setting where you watch people take their last breath. Person after person after person, as though it doesn't end. And we have 700,000 people who share that same story in this country alone, let alone what's gone on around the world. And then I walk out of those hospital doors and I come back into a reality. And just give you one example, I attended a church service just a couple weeks ago, and I walk in and there's hundreds of people crammed into this building. They are shoulder to shoulder, side by side, and I kid you not, they're reaching out their hands and praising God and worship and all of the glory. And my heart just sank, because I looked around the room and I was one of two masks in the entire building. And I had this visceral reaction of panic and nausea that I had to leave the building. It wasn't even the morning before that I sent a 25-year-old intubated woman to her death. Our ICUs are back to full, the hospitals are back to full. We have housing, the shortages, and the chaos hasn't ended as we go back into another wave. And yet, even with the best of intentions, we still somehow are unaware of all the pain and suffering all around us, and how our actions directly attribute to the deaths of innocent lives all over for the sake of politics, and how much pain we can pass on to those suffering in our midst without even realizing it, even while we're attempting to praise and give glory to God. So I'm often reminded by my dear friend Cassandra, in my own moments of weakness and in my moments of bitterness and anger, even to those people reaching out their hands at church, that she reminds me that they do not know what you know, they do not see what you see. Have grace, that have compassion. And And it's a humbling reminder to a guy who tried to write an entire book just on the topic. Because at the hospital, we see it all. It is the ultimate leveling ground, no matter who you are when you are there. And I've cared for all different religions and races and cultures. I have cared for people with swastikas tattooed on their chests who actively spread hate and oppression. And I have to love that person just as equally when I walk into the next room to a victim of that very hate and oppression. I've cared for people telling me to my face that COVID is a lie, and that these masks and vaccines are all a liberal cult that I'm helping to perpetuate. I've cared for people who honestly wish that everybody who is anti-mask or anti-vaccine would get COVID and die. To we're in a society where we can now track algorithms, where the research I was reading the other day said something like 65% of all the information on COVID was linked, the misinformation, was linked to something like 6 social media accounts. And I just think in sadness of the hundreds of thousands of lives that were impacted by that potentially led to those deaths, and these 6 people probably don't even have a clue of what they have done. Even last week, I sat with a patient who also told me that COVID was a hoax, but I had the time to sit down with her where she could ask those really, really hard questions. And at the end of our conversation, she just simply said to me, I had no idea. Everything I read told me otherwise, and I'm just so sorry that we could share in that moment together. Because at the end of the day, all I see is pain and brokenness because hurt people hurt people. And so with that, in these final moments, I just want to lament communal suffering. To my friends and those among us who have buried their parents, to the parents that I have sat with who have now buried their children, to the friends who have buried their loved ones, and to those that I have helped bury who were lost in silence with no one there. And with my lamentations, I ask deeply for the strength to have compassion. And for all those gathered here today, no matter what side of the imaginary aisle you may profess to stand on, no matter who you may profess your enemies to be, please remember that your words matter, your actions matter, and they can deeply affect those around you without you knowing it, without even the slightest of ill intentions. And so I say that we can hold our differences and we can have our disagreements, and yet we can still be respectful to those suffering in our midst. So let us all be reminders of the grace and compassion that is so desperately needed, because while I may be a reminder of that for you today, you may be that reminder for me tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That was amazing story. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Doug Tilestra, and I am the Ottawa County Commissioner for the City of Holland. I represent the City of Holland. There's 11 of us on the county board, and my district, like I said, is the City of Holland. I represent all Ottawa County residents. In these past 20 months have been long and lasting ones. We've heard stories today. Deaths, illnesses, long COVID. We've gone through a lot together and individually, and in our work and our families. What makes it even harder is the uncertainty of the virus and the uncertainty that it creates in our daily lives. I think we want to know when it ends. I know my son asked me, when is COVID over? And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. There is no end date to COVID, but history has shown us we are capable of controlling diseases like this and bringing the end date closer. And the reality is we've done it. We're doing it now, all together and in our own individual way. And right now there are folks working hard to keep the Ottawa community and help them find that end. I'm thinking of the Ottawa County Health Department, number one, which has worked tirelessly to keep the virus under control here in Ottawa. I've seen them at the Civic Center, I've seen them at clinics, I've seen them at farmers markets, and they get 5 vaccinations at a 2-hour clinic, and they're happy about that, right? And so the hours that they're putting in, through the safety measures, and through the really deep focus on getting this community vaccinated. But I'm also thinking of all the other entities here in Ottawa doing the best to keep us safe. Our county sheriff and the various public safety departments here at Grand Haven and City of Holland. Emergency management system, the courts, the clerk's office, the deep networks of nonprofits who have dug even deeper this past year and a half to work on housing and food security, our schools and our teachers, and myriad other entities and individuals who stand up and make sure that no one gets left behind, especially in one of the toughest moments in our lifetimes. And I'm thinking of all of you here who care for your community, who want us to come out of this pandemic stronger, wiser, and more human than we've ever been. I want to thank you, and please keep up all the work that you're doing. This Ottawa community needs you. Thank you.
Hello. Maybe I'll be kind of pulling on the tail end, so I will keep it brief for you guys. Thank you to Nick Brock for organizing the events here in Ottawa County today and in Kent County yesterday. Thank you to all the wonderful speakers at both events, and thank you to the Ottawa County Department of Health for working so hard to keep our kids safe in school and keep our communities safe. Because I know my kids wouldn't be in school without them. It is so important for us to come together at this time. My name is Kathleen Lucas, and I'm here today representing the Smart Science Alliance of Ottawa County. We are also part of the Michigan Parent Alliance for Safe Schools, or MyPass. Smart Science Alliance is a grassroots group of Ottawa County community members who, in these pandemic times, work to advocate at school, county, and state levels for decision makers to follow the science regarding mitigation efforts against COVID-19. I keep hearing the buzzword post-pandemic in the news and on social media. I think all of us here today know that we are not post-pandemic, we are not post-COVID-19. We are still very much in the trenches of the fight against this virus. More are estimated to die from COVID in 2021 than died in 2020, despite the availability of the vaccine that we have had for 3/4 of this year. Not only are we fighting against COVID-19, but the politicization of the virus has us fighting amongst ourselves. Masks have become a political debate. Our children's lives while attending school have become nothing more than numbers in the minds of the loud group actively fighting against science, common sense, and the common good. When Smart Science Alliance and MyPass formed in August of this year, we were all parents and community members who were feeling fed up and alone. We sought out like-minded folks, found our strength in each other, and our efforts have made so much visible progress in a short time. After months of hearing headlines like "Parents Fight Against Masks in Schools," we tried to make our own headlines, fighting for science and the safety of all children in our communities and taking back patriotism. And we did. To quote a reporter from Fox 2 Detroit after MyPass launched our statewide petition for masks in schools, while a vocal minority shouted and waved signs, a quiet majority gave thanks for the mandates that kept their kids safe in school. We are already flipping the script. All of us here today are that quiet majority. Think of what we could do if we became a little less quiet. We are just getting started, and I'm so excited to be here to spread threads of positivity, hope, and outreach to our community. We are here fighting for you, for our kids, for our healthcare workers, and for our communities. You're not alone. We've drafted a petition denouncing the threats of violence against Ottawa County officials. I invite you to sign and to stand up and speak your mind, even when your voice shakes. Thank you.
My name is Angela
disheartened by the mistreatment we are seeing of public officials and with some of the destructive behaviors that we were seeing in local meetings. But we were united in our passion for democracy and our passion for service for the community. And we used that passion to fuel our creation. The Ottawa County Department of Public Health has certainly been the target of some of the threats and hostility that had alarmed us. I'm a parent. I was relieved when I heard that we would have masks in our school. I personally would not have sent my child to in-person instruction without a mask mandate. So even though I'm here as a representative of Ottawa Integrity, I am deeply grateful as an individual and as a parent for the commitment of our health department and school system to ensure that our children have healthy and safe learning environments. Ottawa Integrity PAC also extends the utmost gratitude to our Ottawa County Department of Public Health. We are thankful and appreciative for your efforts and for continuing your work through an unimaginable amount of tension and pressure. We trust experts. We believe our health department makes decisions with our best interest in mind and that they are acting in the interest of good health and wellness for our community. We believe our health department is an ally in achieving community health. We recognize how difficult and traumatic this has been on our community, but we also see all of the efforts that we have to come together and to care for each other. Productive democracy happens best when officials and citizens work together to identify and solve problems, when we work together to overcome challenges through policy and public service. Each of us has power in democracy. Each of us has responsibility in democracy, but there's also opportunity in democracy. Opportunity for collaborative solutions and opportunity to engage with each other with dignity and integrity. I love being a part of this community. Just looking around today, seeing everybody that showed up, right, to lift up our health department, to lift each other up. Looking at all that we've done throughout COVID to support each other as a community. We really are full of resilience and grace. So we look forward to the future as we work together to assure conditions that promote and protect our health. We look forward to the future as Ottawa Integrity works to protect, promote, and uphold integrity for the people of our community. As we seek a high standard of dignified political participation from our representatives and our constituents, and as we work to elect leaders of integrity. Feel free to check us out if you would like to support that effort. We are on social media. Our website is ottawaintegrity.org. We are just getting started, but we have big goals, and there will be exciting things to come, so stay tuned. And we will need the community support to achieve those goals. So we hope that you'll come alongside us. Thank you, Nick, and both Common Good West Michigan for putting this together. Thank you to all the speakers and the other groups who helped put this together, and to everyone who came today. And most importantly, thank you to the Ottawa County Department of Public Health. You are sincerely appreciated.
Hi, I'm Father Jared Kramer. I'm the rector at St. John's Episcopal Church. I want to take this off because it's a bizarre time to be a Christian. It's a bizarre time to be a Christian. A few weeks ago, I was coming out of Mass, unsure what to do. Because a lot of my fellow pastors, man, they've gone through hell this year. Like, if you go to a church, give your pastor a hug. It's been hard. They've been attacked, and they're just trying to help. It's been fine. I pastor an Episcopal church. They're super friendly. They're timid. They tell you both the wrong thing, that they're not timid. They're great. They're friendly. I had a fine year until a few weeks ago. I was walking out of church, and I see a couple sitting at the back of the church without a mask on. We've been wearing masks, been required for months now, and this was the first Sunday we particularly encouraged parents to bring their kids to church. We said, listen, we're all going to wear masks. We know you're scared. You bring your kids on Sunday. It'll be safe. And I'm walking, I'm seeing these people. They've been reminded 3 times during the service to put their masks on. They have to put their masks on. They're 4 pews away from my 5-year-old daughter, who's not vaccinated. My wife and I struggled with infertility for years, trying to conceive. And all I could imagine was that my daughter was going to be taken from me by people who were more interested in their freedom than protecting someone who's vulnerable. So I came to my church. Never done that before. And we stood on that sidewalk right there with their masks off, screaming at me. And I went home that day terrified that they'd screamed COVID on me. And then I was going to get my daughter sick. It's not her fault her dad's a priest, that I got to come out and do stuff on Sundays with people who I don't know. I was so scared. We're all okay. I got tested. I'm fine. I got my booster shot. I'm fine. But that booster shot, that takes the immune system into gear. Holy smokes. It was worse than the second. I'm fine. But it's a hard time to be a Christian. Because I go to events and I don't understand what everyone's saying. It's so bizarre. I'm like really arguing about racism. Like, I didn't know that was up for debate again. When did that happen? I didn't get the memo that now we're cool with racism as Christians. When did it become all about what I can have? Gosh, that sure is not how I follow Jesus. It's not what I can have. It's a bizarre time to be a Christian. And so I think it's a really good time to honor the health department, because they are doing the work of Jesus Christ when so many people talk about it. And so I want to tell you a short story before I end. A story of 3 people, 3 saints of the church. Saint Philomela, Saint Zenaida, and Saint Hermione. Not that Hermione, though that would be awesome. They're saints of the church from the 2nd century, and they are known as the unmercenary physicians. Philomela and Zenaida were women who had gifts for medicine, and were not allowed to practice those gifts because they were women in the Roman Empire. But they cared about health, and they loved Jesus. So they opened a clinic and they took care of people. And they're called the unmercenary physicians because they refused payment. Why would I pay? It's my job to care for you. They are known now as the founders of the impetus for Christian hospitals, which used to be a big part of the church, taking care of people who are sick. Now, I could say a lot about the idea of medicine being provided for free at no cost to people, but I won't, because I don't want to get in too much more trouble. Saint Hermione was one of them as well. She founded the first hospital to care for people. And we honor them as saints of the church because they cared not for themselves, but for others. They sought to do what they could do to make people safe, to make people feel better who were sick, to ensure that goodness spread in this world, and we honor them as saints. Now, probably our Ottawa County Health Department officials are not going to be up for sainthood anytime soon, but who knows? Because they've done miracles. They've worked tirelessly. They've been put through the ringer with the way they've been talked about and treated. And not just them, but I'm going to sign up all of our Ottawa County Board of Commissioners for sainthood. I'm going to sign up the school board for sainthood. I mean, God, I can't believe this. But what I see in that is a commitment to one thing, and that is the common good. That is what matters most to us. The common good. Not my own happiness, not my own rights, but the common good. And as a follower of Jesus Christ, I'm constantly called to ask, what must I give up for the common good? And I want to tell you, it's a bizarre time to be a Christian, but I find it to be an inspiring time as well, because I meet people like you who care deeply about whatever faith you might have or your lack of faith, but
but who care deeply for other people, for enlarging a kingdom of mercy and grace and justice. I see you. I see the strength of our health department refusing to back down when it'd be so much easy. I feel the strength of our board of commissioners insisting that they will make the best decisions, no matter the fact that they might get voted out of office. I see the strength of our school board keeping my daughter safe so I can send her to school. She can go to Young Fives, come and sing alphabet songs to me. I see strength in that. And that strength must increase. It must increase to turn the tide of violence and darkness, to pour in light and love and mercy. That strength is there. It's in you. Thank you for standing up.
We are at the last bit for this evening. So I told you earlier that I was going to recruit you, and I'm here to recruit you. So I want to thank Tim Smith, the chairperson for the Ottawa County Democratic Party. He's at the back. If you haven't met him, he's a very tall gentleman. He is there with a couple folks who have a petition to sign to get Governor Whitmer reelected. So if that's in your purview, that's there. Are you talking about signing the oversized thank you card? That is there. Radical Compassion, Subverting a Culture of Hostility. I want you to grab that book. Now, Thad and I are personal friends, but he has told me multiple times that he wants this book just to land in people's hands. So I want you to grab a book. It's over there in that corner. Now, here's the caveat with that. When you grab a book, and I want you to get a picture, or I want Thad to sign it for you. He is asking that whatever the donation might be for that book, let's say it's $10, $15, maybe $20, put that towards another cause. Put that towards a cause that is working towards the common good. I can think of a PAC that was here this evening, and maybe you want to float it their way. They are over there. Kathleen Lucas, the Smart Science Alliance for the Ottawa County, they have that petition. You need to sign that petition because it's going into the hands of the commissioners to let them know, to let you know that we're here and that we need to be voicing our support for them. There's also Barbara. Barbara, can you raise your hand if you're here? No?
Van Horsen? Yeah. She left her petition in the back.
Okay, so there is a petition that Barbara has here to support the DEI office for Ottawa County, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So it's back there. So go ahead to that when we're finished as well. And did I already mention that you should probably float some money to the Ottawa Impact Group? Not that one, sorry. Ottawa Integrity. Ottawa Integrity Impact. I knew this was going to happen at some point, right? Because it's very, the letters are so close. Ottawa Integrity PAC. All right. Finally, if you want this T-shirt, this is free as well. I have mediums and large. So, final thing. We have moved through help, thanks, and now we're here at WOW. I hope that you gained something, that you're able to take something away from this. Maybe it was a word, maybe it was a phrase, maybe it was just a moment that you can picture. Remember it, and take that back into your communities and spread it. Perhaps bring it to a board meeting, a county meeting, a school board meeting. We need you there. So, I'm going to ask everybody to stand. And we're going to do a call and response thing. There's this thing that I learned over the past couple years. And it's really a call and response to commit ourselves to an ethic of love in our politics. It's called the Love and Politics Pledge. And it's based upon the book of 1 Corinthians and what Paul writes there. Now, I come from the Jesus tradition, so I'm comfortable here. And if you're not comfortable there, I understand that. You can work your tradition and your faith values into this or at a different time. I encourage you to do so. But what's going to happen is, in that verse, in that little section, there's the call and respond where love is put out 13 separate times. I have it here 10. So I'm going to put out my hand, and I'm going to call for you to say love. And it's going to come back onto me, and I'm going to say the little snippet. So, just for example, we're going to go love. When I go out here, love, and I'm going to say is patient. Love. It's kind. All right, you got it. So, you're going to take that energy when we leave here, all of this energy, and you're going to take it back into your communities. All right, we're going to do this 10 times. Here we go. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not boast. Love is not proud. Love does not dishonor others. Love is not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Love always protects. Love always trusts. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. Friends, we need more love in our politics, and this is your opportunity. My name is Nick Brock, and this is a Vote Common Good West Michigan event. Thank you for being